What's up guys, JP here. So today got a few oil leaks on this 2011 Mercedes E550. We're going to be changing out a couple things. We got the crankcase vent on the rear of the passenger side cylinder head. We're going to replace the oil filter slash cooler housing. We're going to replace the serpentine belt because it's covered in oil. We also have a oil drain plug that's leaking, so we got a new oil drain plug. So stay tuned for this DIY repair. Thanks guys. Alright you guys, so I'll show you the parts. We got these parts, Mercedes Genuine through FCP Euro. Here's our crankcase vent that goes on the passenger rear side of that cylinder head there. Genuine Mercedes oil filter housing and oil cooler. We got a Continental belt, which is technically an OE belt, and then we're going to be running some liquid moly, new drain plug, new crush washer. Alright, you guys can see here, I mean, it is soaked with oil. So we're gonna go ahead and get this cover off, get the oil drained. Does not want to come out. Okay. That's 2, 3, 4. So last one. Apply a little bit of downward pressure. There you go. You can see how wet everything is in here. So I mean, it's just soaked. We got our drain plug leaking here. Okay, here we are. New drain plug, new crush washer. I don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah, it's just soaked right in between where the cooler mounts to the oil filter housing. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this off, and we need to get to the back there to get to that valve. Okay, got one off. Set that down. Okay. Gotta get it, make sure you get this clip. There's one on the bottom side. Usually you can just kind of twist, you'll hear it pop. No damage to the clips. Here's a better view. I mean, you can see it's just been oozing out of this thing. Right here, in that corner. Just pouring out of this cooler. So, see what we need. We're going to replace this belt, so we need to get the belt off. We're going to go ahead and probably remove this coolant hose, and then we have access to this. And we need to take this bad boy off. There's a clip in the back here. Let me go grab some tools. All right, for those of you that don't know, you're going to need to place a bucket underneath. Obviously, we're going to lose a little bit of coolant. What I want to do, since we are taking this upper hose off just to get it out of the way, this car came in about an hour ago, so it's cooling down, but it's not all the way cooled off yet. So I want to check the system for, you know, normally you don't want to do this on a hot engine. Like I said, this one I can touch with the back of my hand, so it's not that hot. So I just want to get rid of any pressure in that cooling system so it doesn't spray anywhere. Close that back off. It's a clip right here, the base of this coolant hose. We're going to take that clip, we're going to slide it downwards. Our clip dropped, but we'll grab that later, no big deal. But and that's why you want to ensure your bucket's catching everything. We're looking good here with our bucket, we're catching it all. And that can now just kind of go up out of the way, find somewhere to tuck it. I got this little clip. That clips around. This clips up. That's just a hose support so it doesn't sit there and rub against the cooler. So I'm going to set that over here for now. Alright, there's our clip down there. Grab that with a magnet. And then we're going to need to take our pulley off. Sorry, our belt off the pulley. So our tensioner is this one here. Down here is our tensioner. So let me figure out where the tensioner rod is to put my tool on, and we'll get this belt off and out of the way, and then we'll have access to this cooler. Okay, so you want a 17 millimeter with a nice long ratchet. If you got one, you could do it with a shorter ratchet. There's enough room to put your hand in there, but it's just easier with a longer ratchet. Get this in there for you guys, sorry. The 17 millimeter bolt is going to be right under the pulley itself for the tensioner, just to the left. Okay, twist your ratchet out. This belt is severely soaked with oil, as I was mentioning earlier. You see this here? I mean, it is just gummy. Okay, on to the next. So, the oil cooler housing is going to use, we call them inverted Torx. I'm sure there's another name for them, but it is literally an inverted Torx 6-point E-sockets, some people call them. So looking at this, we are going to need to remove this thermostat housing, which has this little sensor. There's a sensor there to get access to the bolt on the back of this cooler. You can see it right through there. So we'll pull those off. They are also inverted Torx. Possibly this pulley to get to this upper one. So let's get that pulley off. So E14. Again, I'm going right here on this pulley. I'm going to break it loose, get rid of it so we can get to any lower bolts on the bottom side of this thermostat housing here. Here you guys go. One pulley. Now we're going to work our way, get this out of there, work our way around. Should be one here, and I'm guessing at least one more down. Yep, one more on the bottom right under the sensor there. And then we're going to unplug that sensor. I'm going to use a pick on the sensor because it's much easier on some of these German vehicles, European vehicles to get the sensors off that way. Go. Sensor is off. I just got in behind the little tab with the hook and lifted and pushed at the same time. So, all right, next you're going to need to get yourself a short extension with an E10 for the housing bolts. One bolt's broken loose. The second is right under where the sensor was. Okay, we're just about, we got the lower bolt out. Just about to get the upper bolt. There we are. Once you get the bolts off, you're just going to get something back behind this bracket and pop it off. There you go. Still a little warm, but as you can see, there's the sensor. Only 2 bolts. Got a metal gasket, thermostat. Now we have access to the bolt we needed right here. So we'll move the sensor wire out of the way for now. We'll clean that before we go back together with it. Quick tip is get out your new cooler. This will give you an idea of where the bolts locations are. If yours is as gummed up as mine, we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts in total. So 6 bolts in total. We'll get our handy dandy ratchet. Make sure we got the right size on there. There's 1. 2. need a little short extension. All right, we got ourselves a little bit of an extension. One, two. Okay, so it looks like we're going to have one bolt that sits behind the tensioner bracket. So we are going to have to remove the tensioner, which has 2 bolts itself. So I'm going to remove that now. One, it looks like number 2 might be a little bit harder to get to with the tensioner in the way. We can put the use a pin, move our tensioner and pin it. That should give us access to where the bolt hole is. Let me get that set up for you guys. All right, did this. It's a little hard to find my hole because it was so dirty. It's a funny one. All right, so if you look here, this is going to be in the vehicle this way. You're going to rotate it, and there's a little hook and a pinhole just above the, it sits in there about like that. So it's just below the bolt on the right-hand side there. So that's something to look out for. I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but I just put a pin I had lying around in it, but you can use an Allen key. That probably works a little better. See down there now. Now we can get to those lower 2 bolts on this oil cooler housing. So, and just so you know, the bolts for the tensioner were E12s, not E14s on those. And then the bolts for the cooler are the E14s. Again, there were 6 bolts total. So we want to find all 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We got 1 bottom bolt. That's the very bottom, so we're going to move to the second to the bottom. Everything should be broken loose. Should be able to, for the most part, get most of these by hand once they're loose. This one, there it goes. Okay, that should be 1, 2, okay. Now we're going upward. You know, normally I wear gloves, but honestly, half the time they rip. It's just easier to clean my hands afterwards. So. Okay, we got 4 bolts out. There's number 5. Right up here. That one still feels a little tight, so okay. I'm gonna swap this for this. Oh, hands are filthy. Well, you guys can see how bad that oil leak was. All right. 5 and 6. All right. 5 and 6. Okay, we'll double check. We should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this thing should be ready to break loose. We'll lose the coolant. Probably lose a little bit of oil. Obviously this oil is drained. We drained it earlier, fixing the drain plug. Let that drain for a second. Here we have it, guys. Here is our major oil leak. You can see it was leaking right out of here, right out of the gasket. This gasket's just flat. There's no life left to it. But that is our major engine oil leak. As you can see, that is the main area where it's been leaking for a while. So, head gaskets look dry. We got a little bit of oil leak on this front cover, but that's not major there. We're going to clean up this gasket surface really well, and we'll start reinstalling. Place this back on. We got it all cleaned up. We kind of cleaned off as much with some brake clean and parts cleaner, just kind of spraying around. We cleaned off the gaskets. The gasket mating surface here. Just so you guys know, it's going to be the exact reverse process that we just did. So I'm not going to go over putting this back in. We'll do a ending video once it's all back in, because we still have that other part to change for you guys to watch. So putting this back in, medium length bolt, 3 long bolts, and the short bolt. So just in case you get your bolts mixed up, that's the route they go. So we'll go ahead and get this placed back in here. Sorry, there's one bolt that's slightly different. Go. There's a medium one that's just slightly longer. That's the one that goes in the bottom corner. And then your secondary medium one goes into this spot. Thought I had it visually right for you guys, but I didn't realize the one was slightly different. So just so you know, these do come with oil filters pre-installed. All right. Okay, all the bolts are loosely in. I'm going to run them in gently with this bad boy. Make sure it's sitting square. Okay. That's the nice thing about these electronic ratchets. They have a variable trigger on them, so how hard you pull is how fast and how tight they'll go. So you can use them to run things in without over tightening anything, because you're going to want to torque these down. Six. There you guys have it. Oil cooler's in. I'm going to torque this down and put this all back together. Then we're going to move on to the vent solenoid in the back of the cylinder head here, but just reverse your process from the way you took it apart. Okay, here you are. Don't forget to put your plastic clip back on. You'll want to steal this rubber boot from your old oil cooler. I just use silicone on my thermostat gasket. Really light bead will be just fine. There you guys have it. Belt is on. I just Google search, because I'm not near my computer, but you just Google search and hit images and it comes right up. So if you guys need the diagram there, that's for that. So moving on, we're going to get to our valve in the back. So, all right. Okay, we got the clip off, as you just saw there. And I believe this just rocks forward. There it is. There you go. Okay, so on this we're going to want a 10 millimeter, I believe, is what these are. Sorry, nope, they are going to be our E10s. So, same as the thermostat bolts. So we're gonna lower this car down just a bit. You can see here, we have our line we need to remove right there. One vacuum line there. And then we're gonna go ahead and move all of these. They make wrenches that are these E-sockets. I don't have one, so I am going to have to kind of finesse my socket in there, break it loose, and hope I can get it out by hand after the fact. There is your zip tie. That'll get that harness there off of everything. We're gonna push this line out of the way. All right, so 8 millimeter 12 point fits on that E10. So we should be able to just use the 12 point side of this ratcheting wrench here. Oh yeah, that works nicely. Okay. All right, there's 3. Go over here, take a look. I believe there's only 4. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the one I'm trying to get to down in this corner here. I don't know why that don't. There it goes. All right. Okay, we've broken it loose at least. So I'll try to take it out by hand. Now, something to be aware of. This does have a center shaft, so you got to kind of walk it and pry it at the same time. Just kind of back and forth. There you go. Make sure your gasket comes with it. There you are. And that's that gasket I was just talking about. It's on the shaft. So it's something you want to make sure. Make sure these match. Those look good. Looks like this is really worn out compared to this one. We're going to take a little bit of our oil. Just a drop. Some cleanliness here. All right. Just take a dab on our pinky. We're just gonna lubricate this O-ring inside here, so that way when we go to put it on, it slides in without pinching or breaking the seal. Take a rag, wipe everything down back there because I can feel it's pretty dirty. Doesn't hurt to grab a mirror, the cylinder head. Shouldn't have a rag got caught up or anything like that. All right. Does look like it requires a couple drops of silicone right in this area where the head gasket or the split is, and it should be straight across, but we're going to verify one more time. Right there and right. Yep, straight across. right about in the same vicinity. If you have a little extra, ain't gonna hurt nothing. Just want to make sure you seal there, because it's a tiny little crack in the back of the cylinder head here, where the split between this upper, I'm going to call it the camshaft, upper camshaft bearing housing, bolts to the head. There's a crack there, kind of like the crack between a block and cylinder head. So, and that little crack can allow oil to go past this because this gasket can't get in there. So by putting the silicone on, we're ultimately giving it the ability to seal properly. All right, just like that, it goes on. Fit in there really nicely, easily. That's why we lubricated that gasket prior. I'm going to snug these back down. Run them in by hand first. And we'll snug them all in. Okay, those are all in. Switch this to on. I'm going to tighten those down real quick. And when tightening these, when tightening these, you're going on plastic, so you don't want to go crazy tight, but you want to cross tighten them, so that way nothing gets too tight on one side, and then you go to tighten the other and the plastic cracks. So, okay. All right, don't forget to put a zip tie back on that harness. You go around the harness first, it'll be much easier, and then before you tighten it, slide over the neck. Okay. And there you go. Cut off the excess. Plug your hose back in. Okay. Push your dipsticks down. All right, there you guys have it. We repaired some oil leaks, pretty severe oil leaks on this 2011 E550 Mercedes. If you guys like the content, please like and subscribe. We're gonna go ahead and finish this thing off. We're gonna burp our cooling system. Don't forget to do that. We're gonna throw our underskirt on, and then we're gonna fill this with oil. Oil capacity for this particular vehicle is 9 quarts or 8.51 liters. So we're gonna top this off, fill this up. We're gonna take it outside, we're gonna clean it off, and then we'll return it to the customer. Thanks for watching, guys.